Alright, Doom Patrol episode 7, Therapy Patrol. So this episode was really, really weird, and I felt like something was off from the start, and as it turns out, I was right, because in the end, it has a really weird twist that I didn't think would be the case. But I felt like Robot Man's acting was really over the top from the start, and some of the moments were making me cringe. And at first, I didn't know he was hallucinating a certain something, and then it turned out he was hallucinating. I'm like, I thought they were really just going all out there, getting that weird. But thankfully, they didn't. However, they did get really weird with the twist. And oh man, the places they go. So it fleshes out each character throughout this episode. It shows the start of their day, and it does make some progress, some really great progress, has some really great dialogue, and addresses the issues very well. However, the outcome isn't as great in some cases. Like with Jane, they barely show anything of. They just show you her as a baby when she was Kay and her shady father, but that's all they show you of Jane. The rest, though, they get really fleshed out in this episode. Negative Man has some great little parts. It still bothers me that they had to go, change sexual orientation, and then they put so much focus on it. But there was some great dialogue there, and the great scenes. The negative energy kept making him relive this scenes from the past where he's making out with his secret boyfriend, and he keeps complaining about things like the truck isn't the right color, the music isn't right, that what is this, some kind of barrier limitation you've set? He just keeps complaining about these things, and then he gets into the real stuff, bitching about the context of the situation, and really he just tortures himself, and that's all Negative Man's been doing, giving him what he wanted. That's self-loathing, that's self-torture. But really, he just wants to make him better, and he just wants to give him what he wants, I guess. But it had a really great payoff with Negative Man realizing that, he was full of shit, that all he does is torture himself, and that, the context of everything is what matters. It's really hard to explain just without putting a whole lot of thought into it, but it was really great the way it played out. And Rita's stuff, man, her trying to keep it together, losing herself, and you get to see a really interesting moment, though, with her as a child. You see that her parents have sort of coached her to be this way. She never really got to be a child. Even Rita Farr is just a stage name. Everything about her is pretty much fake. So who is she really? And they get into that when they're all having this therapeutic set down. It's really great, and she talks about something that she's ashamed of coming out, and she still won't tell them, and that will be interesting to see when it all does come out. Eventually it will. But the other stuff, her falling through a vent down a furnace, and when Cliff says that's a really great metaphor, when she says that she got trapped in a furnace and was screaming for help, and nobody would hear her or something, whatever it was she said, and Cliff's like, that's a really great metaphor. She's like, it wasn't a metaphor, and he's like, okay. That stuff was pretty funny. What Negative Man said in the room when they were all having this set down, having this talk together where they're airing their baggage, I think Negative Man put it the best, that he's just he's gotten so full of self-loathing that he can barely breathe. And it was great to have them just letting this stuff out in the open with each other, admitting it for other people to validate, for other people to hear, so in a way that they could actually admit it to themselves and stop pretending that they didn't deserve any of this, and they just need to accept who they are, what they become, and why they become it. So there was a lot of that stuff in this episode, but Jane was the one you get the least of it. You know, it just showed her when she was a baby and the shady father. I'm pretty sure that maybe they'll explore more of that the next episode. But Robots Man, his stuff was really out there. Cyborgs was kind of cool. With the way the child locks her now off his system, and he discovers that all these women had hit him up on the dating app over the past few years, and he looks into all that. But they were asking for things that were essentially like asking for dick pics, like just asking to see robot parts and stuff, and it just hitting him up because he's cyborg, and he cancels all them out. It's like, just show me one that didn't search for me by cyborg, and he starts hitting it off with that one pretty well, but then he sends her a pic of himself showing his chest, and because the system gives him what he desires, it starts like hacking this woman, showing him in real time, showing him everything about her, and it's showing her while she's on a bus, live action, and he's really uncomfortable with this because it's like stalkerish. Even though he didn't request it, the operating system or whatever said, hey, you desired this, so I'm giving it to you. So yeah, it made him uncomfortable, and her reaction to his photo made him really uncomfortable. It brought out his insecurities, and just really great to humanize all these characters. But Robot Man was really out there. Like, when Jane encounters him eating toast and he flips out, starts complaining about the damn toast, that made me laugh my ass off. But when it starts, like him going on this journey to go find his friend and attack him because he's playing father, and he considers him a traitor, and then that dude, when he attacks that dude attacks him back with some kind of energy weapon, and it's like, well, this is really out there. And the way it was talking about raising Cliff's daughter, saying that he had to put up with her while you been off getting all the robot ass you want or something like that. Like, it was really out there, and I was like, come on, we're not really going here. But it turned out he was hallucinating. He was hallucinating. He was seeing his daughter as like Jane, and he was seeing other people in the room as his friend, and he got into it a couple times with Cyborg, and he was really pressing for them all to have this sit down and just get it out in the open. And he was talking like, let's do this. This is great. Therapy. He was really manic about it, and something was just really off with him. And then, after everybody's stuff got exposed, Jane revealed this. Cyborg he finally came out and talked about, his mother dying, and what could be. He talked about, the ideas that Mr. Nobody planted in his head, talking about them, showing him the memories and making him question, what could be worse. Is this like the real memory or whatever? He gets into all that stuff, and he talks about what happened to his mother. And Rita said this really great thing, what caused them, when Cliff was pressing for this whole set down, what caused them to really go through with it too was Rita, saying that, this is what Mr. Nobody wants. He wants to use our secrets against us the way he did to the old Doom Patrol. So I thought it was really great. Just the way she worded it, it was perfect. But Jane, after Cyborg admits all of his stuff, Jane comes out with this painting of him standing, holding his father, and the Doom Patrol all down around him, and questioning him if he can be trusted and all that. And Cliff and her get into an argument when she pretty much tells him that he was a worthless father and all that. And you got to see Cliff's childhood. He ended up becoming like his father, which he talks about how the way he treated his wife and how, he should have died instead of his wife. It should be her that's still here today. And it's just, he goes on about how he can't feel anything in this body, and he's getting really crazy out there, and Jane ends up storming off because he says something really hurtful to her. But to be fair, everybody comes at him like she didn't say something as bad as what he just said back to her, but they only come at him with like, man, you need to chill out, you need to watch yourself. But as it turns out, though, he starts freaking out again, seeing his friends, seeing his daughter, and then he starts like seizing out and collapses to the floor. And then we find out that a rat was in him the whole time. And then we see a flashback of the rat from episodes ago, like 6 episodes ago, where the rat and its little woodland mother with subtitles, she was leading him to cross the street. She got ran over, and that was really tragic. That was actually kind of sad right there. Honestly, I was like, well, damn. I didn't think see this weird comedic, very bizarre episode would be so tragic that he's like all mourning his mother. And then Mr. Nobody reaches out to him, telling him to go for vengeance or whatever. And the cat's like, no, I don't want to hurt any. I mean, the rat's like, no, I don't want to hurt anybody. I'm just a peaceful woodland creature. And he convinces him to go get revenge on the robot. He convinces him to be Batman to get revenge for his dead parents, our dead parent. It was really strange. So I don't know if Mr. Whiskers is going to be back now that he's gotten his revenge. But Jane took off. Robot Man seized out, and he's down for the count. And I don't know if what the rat was doing inside of him. I'm assuming it was just chewing on, the wiring or the robotic parts or whatever. Because if it was really gnawing at his brain, we wouldn't be able to have an intact Cliff back. So that's what's going on there. Really, really strange twist. And I'm not exactly sure how I feel about it, because for the first part of the episode, so, all the touching character moments and the fleshing out of the backstories, all that stuff was great. All that stuff was really fleshed out. And it was well done, their flashback scenes. But the Robot Man stuff, most of it felt like over-the-top, cringeworthy acting. And I knew there was a reason behind it. And then that reason was that a rat got in his body for vengeance over his dead rat mother. And he was influenced by Mr. Nobody. So, what the I'd give it a 6 out of 10. It is likable. It's likable, but it's also like, this a little bit too far out there, man. And it's like, some of the acting was really over the top, but from Robot Man. But damn, that toast scene was so epic. That toast scene was the best. Anyways, like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you thought of this episode. Mr. Whiskers, badass Batman. Stay awesome. Rock on.